'cause nothing can travel faster than light, and everything else will get dragged back also. Falling from the event horizon is a bit like going over Niagara Falls in a canoe. If you are above the falls, you can get away if you paddle fast enough, but once you are over the edge, you are lost. There's no way back.
Stephen Hawking is the scientist of our time, and he is warning about the threats to human survival likely from the new science. It is now confirmed as we have been discussing it again and again, and now it is Stephen Hawking who is warning. It is audio, and it is audio.
The greatest threats to mankind will come as science and technology continue to advance at an alarming rate, eminent scientist Stephen Hawking has warned. Speaking ahead of the BBC's annual Reith Lecture, Hawking suggested that the chance of a catastrophe on Earth would become almost certain during the next 10,000 years, but the human race would not be able to voyage and settle in space for more than 100 years. We will not establish self-sustaining colonies in space for at least the next 100 years, so we have to be very careful in this period, Hawking told magazine The Radio Times. The cosmologist, who will deliver the lecture for the BBC about the science of black holes, suggested that the most prolific threats would rise from technological advances, such as more powerful weapons and biological diseases. We are not going to stop making progress, or reverse it, so we must recognize the dangers and control them, he said. The scientist also discusses how black holes are formed in his lecture, which will be broadcast on BBC Radio 4 on January 26 and February 2nd. He explains that when stars run out of fuel and collapse under their own gravity, they become black holes, a phrase coined in 1967 by John Wheeler. He also suggests that it might be possible to be sucked through a black hole and arrive in another universe. However, making the return journey to our universe would not be possible, he adds. The Guardian reported that during the lecture, Hawking was asked whether speaking through his electronic synthetic voice had altered his personality and allowed him to become more extrovert. He said he had never been called an introvert before, and added, "Just because I spend a lot of time thinking doesn't mean I don't like parties and getting into trouble." Hawking also discussed how his diagnosis with motor neuron disease, age 21, had affected his life and outlook. It's also important not to become angry, no matter how difficult life is, because you can lose all hope if you can't laugh at yourself and at life in general, he said. The professor, who resides at the University of Cambridge, was due to record the lecture in November, but was forced to postpone it until January 7th. He delivered it to more than 400 people at the Royal Institution in Mayfair, London.
Now, most threats to humans come from science and technology, once Hawking. Speaking ahead of BBC Read lecture on black holes, Stephen Hawking discussed the danger inherent in progress and chances of disaster on Earth. I am reading the Guardian report, and it as follows. The human race faces one of its most dangerous centuries, yet as progress in science and technology becomes an ever greater threat of our existence, Stephen Hawking warns. Yes, it is official. And we have been warning against this. We, the environment and climate activists worldwide, have been warning against this. It is easy to understand, for example, if we speak about India, our own land, then we see, since the nuclear deal was signed and since it is expanded with nuclear deals signed with every other developed country, our political leadership is on eternal flight and roaming around the world purchasing the nuclear reactors. The nuclear reactor industry, which was shuttered down in United States of America, has reopened to supply nuclear reactor to every corner of India. Our metros, New Delhi, Kolkata, Mumbai and Chennai, are surrounded by nuclear reactors. I have discussed it while Chennai faced the floods. It was yet another Fukushima red alert, as the water could have entered Kalpakkam nuclear plant and another two nuclear institutions situated near Chennai, and it would have been radioactive. And since the world, for its economy, for the oil war, for the war to capture the free open market, to strengthen the dices worldwide, the ruling hegemony of the global order, in accordance with the Ku Klux Klan and neo-Nazi and the racist apartheid from India known as Hindut, the brute and merciless Hindut, have created an eternal war, and it would end in nuclear disaster. Any terrorist group may play havoc anywhere. If the Pathankot phenomenon is replicated to break the security of nuclear plants, it would be disastrous. Moreover, we have been talking about the Himalaya, which has been the victim of science and technology these days. Nuclear blasts have been used to reach the Everest, to block the rivers from its source, as Brahmaputra is blocked and our Uttarakhand is now energy province. We have opted for big dams, and the technical devices have reduced mankind in robots, in machines, in computers, and we have extended our biological existence to 4G, 3G, 2G, to 5G spectrum, and everything is linked to the market, and the technology is there. And this technology is not improving the civilization. As Einstein, as Tolstoy, as Gandhi warned again and again during last century, that scientific advancement has not improved wellness, has not improved humanity and civilization. Morals finished, ethics killed. Even the most powerful states worldwide have been reduced to military states to evict the indigenous, aboriginal and rural communities from their natural abode. The nature associated people who sustain the bonanza of nature, this good air, they have been selected for ethnic cleansing, and racist apartheid is in vogue, and those reactionary forces are holding all these technologies and misusing the technology against humanity. In this light, we must read what Stephen Hawking wants about. I read from the Guardian report. The chances of disaster on planet Earth will rise on a near certainty in next 1 to 10,000 years, the eminent cosmologist said, but it will take more than a century to set up colonies in space where human beings could live on among the stars. We will not establish self-sustaining colonies in space for at least the next 100 years. So we have to be very careful in this period, Hawking said. His comments echo those of Lord Rees, the astronomer royal, who raised his own concern about the risks of self-annihilation in his 2003 book, Our Final Century. Speaking to the Radio Times ad of the BBC lecture, in which he will explain the science of black holes, Hawking said most of the threats humans now face come from advances in science and technology, such as nuclear weapons and genetically engineered viruses. We have seen the trailer I had. We have seen the technical work, the live telecast which we had witnessed during Gulf War I and Gulf War II, and even during the missile attacks on Afghanistan. We have seen the alarming scenario, vocal scenario of disaster which killed 35 million people in Iraq only. We did not see the footage of Vietnam War, or the war continued in Latin America. We did not watch the original genocide in Latin America and North America by Columbus and the pirates who looted, who used the genocide culture with the principle of discovery from Europe. They killed Aboriginal people in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, all over Africa and Americas. It is the story of development. It is the story of growth, and it is globalization, the original globalization. And I have been talking again and again that this globalization would kill humanity, nature, and the earth. And Stephen Hawking, probably the greatest scientist of our time, confirms. He said the chances of disaster on planet Earth will rise to a near certainty in the next 1 to 10,000 years. The eminent cosmologist said, but it will take more than a century to set up colonies in a space where human beings could live on among stars. We will not establish self-sustaining colonies in a space for at least the next 100 years. So we have to be very careful in this period, Hawking said. Speaking to the Radio Times ahead of BBC Read lectures, in which he will explain the science of black holes, Hawking said most of the threats humans now face come from advances in science and technology such as nuclear weapons and genetically engineered viruses. We have seen Bhopal gas tragedy. I add, it was the experiment of chemical warfare in South Asia, and the victims are denied justice. They have been deprived of compensation, and thanks to Indo-US nuclear deal, we have opted for nuclear energy, and which is again to be translated in nuclear weapons, radioactive disaster, and genetically engineered viruses. And Stephen Hawking said, we are not going to stop making progress or reverse it. So we must recognize the dangers and control them, he added. The Cambridge scientist who turned 74 earlier this month said his experience were reduced to zero when he learned he had a rare and slowly progressing form of motor neuron disease at the age of 21. But reflecting on more than 50 years since the diagnosis, he said he had been very fortunate in almost every other way. In Hawking's area of theoretical physics, his disability was not a major handicap. Asked what kept his spirits up, he named his work and sense of humor. It is also important not to become angry, no matter how difficult life is, because you can lose all hope if you become angry. And now this is yet another video. It is from Guardian.
I think we will survive another 1,000 years without escaping beyond our fragile planet. I therefore want to encourage public interest in space, and I've been getting my training in early. So let me finish by reflecting on the state of the universe. It has been a glorious time to be alive and doing research in theoretical physics. Our picture of the universe has changed a great deal in the last 50 years, and I'm happy if I have made a small contribution. I don't think we will survive another 1,000 years without escaping beyond our fragile planet. I therefore want to encourage public interest in space, and I've been getting my training in early.
This is the warning.
So let me finish by reflecting on the state of the universe.
This is the warning we had been repeating again and again. And now
our picture of the universe has changed a great deal in the last 50 years, and I'm happy if I have made a small contribution.
And now we should get something on Hawking. It is the free market.
तुम लोग ही पुश करो इस बैलगाड़ी को, मुझसे नहीं होगा।
चालू हो जा मेरी डार्लिंग।
तेरी डार्लिंग तो वैसे ही चालू है।
अबे तेरी प्रॉब्लम क्या है? एक मिनट। रॉकी, तू स्नीकर्स खा।
क्यों?
क्योंकि तुझे भूख लगती है ना, तो तू हीरोइन बन जाता है। अब ठीक है? ठीक है। हंगर अच्छे अच्छों को बदल देता है। हंग्री ग्राम स्नीकर्स।
It is a film about Hawking. Hawking.
Huge fan. Huge fan. Would you like to have your photo taken? You can have a picture? You guys? So we can have a picture. There you go.
This man has learned
All the great
that
scientists and
humanity
Kepler and Galileo Newton.
would not survive beyond 100 years. And
My name is Stephen Hawking. For the past 50 years, I have traveled the world, studying and lecturing about time and space, and the laws that govern the universe. This film is a personal journey through my life, told in my own words. Come with me, and I will show you how I live and work today, and tell you the story of how I became who I am. Welcome to my world.
So you're going to take your lunch in the cafeteria? It's up to you.
Yes.
I think it would kill him. If he was in a home being cared for by nurses, I think that would be the end for him. He likes to go to choose what he wants to do with his life. He loves the danger of flying. He wants to go into space, and he's been in submarines. He's just the most craziest man. He's got a lot of guts in him. Just through here is the nurse's room, so if anything medical happens, we'll just grab a phone, phone 999. But there is not much we can actually do because Stephen is on a nippy that she'll breathe on. If that fails, the only other thing we could do, and we do have, we have oxygen cylinders and we can give him oxygen, but if he's in total state, then we will have to let him go.
I have lived over 2/3 of my life with the threat of death hanging over me. Because every new day could be my last, I have developed a desire to make the most of each and every minute. Although I'm 71 now, I still go to work every day at Cambridge University.
Do you a bit? Go shopping?
keeping an active mind has been vital to my survival, as has been maintaining a sense of humor.
When I went to my job interview, I thought he was going to ask me about my past medical history and what I've done before in care. But he didn't. He asked whether I could cook poached eggs.
We had a glimpse on Hawkins' personal life, the man Hawkins, and it is another thing because it is religious nationalism which inflicts the world nowadays, and it would be interesting what Stephen Hawking thinks on God.
All of us will be able to start discussing the why rather than the how. And I quote, "If we find the answer to that, it would be the ultimate triumph of human reason, for then we would know the mind of God." Do you think that God can intervene in the universe as he wants, or is God too bound by the laws of science?
The question of whether God is bound by the laws of science is a bit like the question, can God make a stone that is so heavy that he cannot lift it? I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in. All our observations suggest that it operates according to well-defined laws. These laws may have been ordained by God,
Again,
but it seems that he does not
Stephen Hawking said there is no God. Amazing documentary.
तो क्यों ना उस शक्ति का इस्तेमाल करके बिजली बनाई जाए?
Hello. My name is Stephen Hawking, physicist, cosmologist, and something of a dreamer. Although I cannot move, and I have to speak through a computer, in my mind, I am free. Free to explore the deepest questions of the universe. Among them, the deepest of all, is there a God who created and controls the universe? From the stars and the planets to you and me. Finding out takes us on a journey through the laws of nature. For there, I think, lies the answer to the age-old mystery of how the universe was made and how it really works. Check it out. I recently published a book that asked if God created the universe. It caused something of the stir. People got upset at a scientist to have anything to say on matters of religion. I have no desire to tell anyone what to believe, but for me, asking if God exists is a valid question for science. After all, it is smart to think of the more important or fundamental mystery than what or who created and controls the universe.
Long ago, the answer was almost always the same. Gods made everything. The world was a scary place. So even people as tough as the Vikings believed in supernatural beings to make sense of natural phenomena, like lightning or storms. The Vikings had many different gods. Thor was the god of lightning. Another god, Aegir, caused stormy seas. But the god they feared the most was named Skuld. He was responsible for the terrifying natural event that we now call a solar eclipse. Skuld was a wolf god who lived in the sky. Sometimes he would eat the sun, causing the dreadful moment when day turned to night. Without a scientific explanation, imagine how disturbing it would have been to see the sun vanish.
What if the tracks kept on going and going?
At Hitachi, we ask questions like this every day, finding new ways to develop.
The Vikings responded in the only way that made sense to them.
The Dark Age returning with religious nationalism, with Ku Klux Klan, with neo-Nazis, and now in India with Hindutva. The Ram would not be saving us, mind you. As I have been telling you, most threats to human come from science and technology once hawking, and this religious nationalism would not save us. No Ram Mandir, however might be grand, or no religious place on earth cannot save the mankind, as we
Their actions
have opted
cause the
self-destruction